The truth about what she said behind your back is coming out. God allowed it. Listen closely. What you are about to hear was not meant for everyone, but it was meant for you. Something hidden is shifting. Words spoken in shadows are being pulled into the light. You didn't imagine the tension. You didn't misread the silence. Heaven has been watching, and now the veil is thinning. You have wondered why your name felt heavy in certain rooms. Why smiles felt delayed. Why energy changed the moment you left. You sensed it in your spirit before you ever had proof. That was not paranoia. That was discernment. God allowed you to feel it early so the truth would not break you later. Behind your back, words were spoken with confidence, because the speaker believed they would never be revealed. She assumed distance was protection. She assumed secrecy was safety. But there is no whisper quiet enough to outrun divine justice. When God allows truth to surface, it does not ask permission. It arrives suddenly, precisely, and without apology. You were never meant to fight this battle yourself. That is why you felt restrained from defending your name. That is why every time you tried to explain, something stopped you. Heaven was holding your tongue because heaven was preparing the exposure. If you had spoken too soon, the lesson would have been incomplete. Silence was not weakness, it was strategy. Understand this. What she said was not harmless conversation. It was intentional distortion. It was narrative manipulation. It was an attempt to control how others perceived you without ever confronting you directly. But God does not tolerate counterfeit stories when they threaten the destiny of His chosen. Right now, conversations are happening that you did not initiate. Questions are being asked with growing discomfort. Details are not aligning the way she expected. The same people who nodded along are beginning to notice cracks. God is allowing inconsistencies to surface naturally so no one can accuse you of being defensive or dramatic. This is how divine exposure works. No shouting. No chaos. Just truth calmly standing where lies once sat. And when that happens, the one who spoke against you feels it first, before anyone else reacts. That is why her energy has shifted. That is why she is suddenly cautious. She knows something is slipping beyond her control. You may feel tempted to celebrate prematurely or confront her directly. Do not. Let heaven complete the process. Exposure is most powerful when it finishes its work without interference. The same mouths that repeated her words will soon question them. And when they do, your silence will speak louder than any explanation ever could. If this message resonates, stay with it. There is a reason you are hearing this now. A reason the timing feels intense. This is not coincidence, it is alignment. Allow yourself to receive confirmation quietly. And when you feel led, a simple like or subscription helps this message reach others who are also waiting for truth to surface, without ever breaking the sacred flow of what God is doing. What is coming next is not just revelation, it is reversal. The narrative is about to turn in a way no one expects. And in the next moment, you will understand why God waited until now to let the truth come out. Do not assume that what is unfolding now is random or delayed. Nothing about this moment is accidental. Heaven does not rush exposure, because rushed truth creates confusion, but timed truth creates clarity. What you are witnessing is precision. God waited until the lies matured, until the words spoken behind your back had fully revealed the intent of the heart behind them. Understand this deeply. What she said was not a single moment of weakness. It was a pattern. It was layered. It was repeated with subtle confidence, as if rehearsed. She believed that repetition would turn opinion into fact. She believed familiarity would make her version of the story unquestionable. But repetition does not turn lies into truth, it only makes them louder. And loud lies always attract divine attention. You were spared from hearing everything for a reason. Had you known earlier, you might have reacted emotionally. You might have confronted prematurely. You might have tried to clear your name before the full picture was visible. God protected your spirit by limiting what reached you. What you don't realize is that not knowing saved you. It kept your heart clean while others revealed theirs. Now the atmosphere is shifting. People are remembering conversations they once brushed off. They are replaying her tone, her timing, her choice of words. What once sounded concerned now sounds calculated. What once seemed honest now feels rehearsed. This is how discernment awakens, quietly, internally, without your involvement. You may notice that some people are suddenly distant, not from you, but from her. That is not coincidence. God is separating alignment. When truth rises, neutrality collapses. People must choose whether to cling to a false narrative or real integrity. And many will choose silently, without announcements, without apologies. Watch actions, not words. There is something else you must understand. Exposure is not only about what was said, but why it was said. Envy played a role. Comparison played a role. Insecurity played a role. She spoke because your presence reminded her of something unresolved within herself. Your growth felt threatening. Your peace felt unfair. And instead of confronting her own discomfort, she tried to reframe you. But God does not allow internal wounds to be healed by external damage. That is why He stepped in. Not to shame her, but to stop the spread. Lies left unchecked multiply. And if God had not intervened, more people would have been affected by words that were never rooted in truth. Do not be surprised if the truth does not come to you directly at first. Often, revelation happens around you before it reaches you. God wants you to stay steady, not reactive. When you finally hear what was said, it will not sting the way it once might have. By then, your spirit will already be fortified. You may feel moments of anger rising, brief flashes of, "How dare she?" Let them pass. Anger is human, but it is not your assignment. Justice is not yours to carry. Your role is witness, not executioner. Heaven handles the weight so you can remain light. Right now, she is experiencing something she never expected: loss of control. She does not know which version of her words will surface first. She does not know who remembers what. She does not know how much has already been compared, questioned, or dismissed. That uncertainty is part of the consequence. Exposure is not always loud, it is often slow and deeply uncomfortable. And listen carefully, not everyone who heard her believed her. Some stayed silent not because they agreed, but because they were waiting. Waiting for confirmation. Waiting for clarity. Waiting for God to move. Those people are now recognizing that their patience was justified. This is also a lesson for you. God is showing you the power of restraint. You did not need to defend yourself to be defended. You did not need to explain to be understood. You did not need to expose her to be vindicated. This is divine protection operating at a level higher than reputation. It is spiritual authority. If you feel peace right now, that is not numbness. That is confirmation. Truth does not create panic in the innocent. It creates stillness. The storm is not around you, it is around her. And storms reveal foundations. Stay observant. Stay quiet. Stay aligned. The next phase will not be about what she said, but about who repeats it, who retracts it, and who distances themselves once the truth becomes undeniable. And when that happens, you will see clearly who was truly meant to walk with you. Do not look away. What is about to surface next will explain why God allowed this to unfold publicly rather than privately, and why your elevation required this exact exposure. Pay attention now, because the next layer of this revelation is subtle, but it is decisive. What is being exposed is not only her words, but the network of agreement that allowed those words to travel. God is not just uncovering what was said, He is revealing who gave it permission to live. This is where clarity sharpens. You are beginning to notice patterns you once ignored. Certain reactions make sense now. Certain delays, exclusions, and shifts are suddenly logical. What confused you before is aligning into a clear picture. This is not to reopen wounds, it is to close doors permanently. God never exposes to humiliate, He exposes to separate truth from access. Some people knew more than they let on. Others sensed something was wrong but stayed quiet to avoid discomfort. Silence is not always innocence. But it is always revealing. Do not rush to judge them. Let discernment speak louder than disappointment. God is showing you who has the capacity for integrity when it costs them nothing, and who only values peace when it is convenient. You may feel a strange mix of emotions: relief, grief, validation, and a quiet sadness. Relief because you were not wrong. Grief because trust was misplaced. Validation because God defended you. Sadness because loss still hurts, even when it is necessary. Allow yourself to feel all of it without shame. Emotional complexity is not weakness, it is wisdom forming. What you must not do is rewrite your own character based on her actions. You did not fail because someone misrepresented you. You did not lose value because someone spoke against you. Your consistency is your evidence. Your endurance is your testimony. The fact that you remained steady while narratives shifted is proof that your foundation is sound. Right now, God is also testing how you respond to vindication. Will you become hardened, or will you remain humble? Will you retreat inward, or will you rise with clarity? Vindication can tempt pride just as much as betrayal tempts bitterness. Choose neither. Choose alignment. Let truth elevate you without changing your heart. You may be tempted to correct the story now that cracks are visible. Resist that urge. When God exposes, He does not need footnotes. The truth speaks with authority when it is allowed to stand alone. Those who need explanations will seek you out, not to gossip, but to understand. And when they do, your calm will disarm them more than any defense ever could. Notice how she is behaving now. The over-explaining. The sudden kindness. The quiet withdrawal. These are not signs of repentance yet, they are signs of awareness. Exposure awakens fear before it awakens accountability. Do not mistake discomfort for change. Let time reveal fruit. There is also something happening within you that matters deeply. Your discernment is sharpening. Your tolerance for subtle disrespect is decreasing. You are no longer confused by mixed signals. This experience is training you, not to distrust everyone, but to trust yourself more fully. That is a gift many never receive. God allowed this because your next season requires clearer boundaries. Where you are going, access must be intentional. Influence must be earned. Not everyone who smiles is safe, and not everyone who is silent is against you. This revelation is teaching you to distinguish without becoming suspicious. That balance is spiritual maturity. Do not rush to replace what is being removed. God creates space before He fills it. If certain connections feel awkward now, let them fade naturally. Forced proximity after exposure only creates residue. Allow God to realign your circle according to truth, not history. You may wonder why this had to happen publicly, even in quiet ways. Why not resolve it privately? Because private correction would not have protected you from future distortion. God is safeguarding your name for rooms you have not entered yet. He is clearing misperceptions before they can follow you forward. If you feel led, stay connected to messages like this, not out of fear, but out of grounding. A simple like or subscription keeps you aligned with what strengthens your spirit without pulling you into noise. You are not meant to relive this, you are meant to outgrow it. Now listen closely to this final truth for this moment. Exposure is not the end of the story. It is the pivot. What follows will not be about what was said, but about what God restores, replaces, and elevates because you endured without compromise. And the next thing that unfolds will answer the question you haven't dared to ask yet: what happens to her after the truth fully settles, and why your life accelerates immediately after. Remain centered now, because this is the moment where many lose their balance. Vindication has a way of tempting the heart to lean in the wrong direction. But hear this clearly: your elevation will not come from her fall. It will come from your restraint. God is watching how you walk through this corridor of truth, not just what truth reveals. There is a spiritual law at work here. When God exposes what was hidden, He also exposes motives. And motives determine outcomes. She spoke from insecurity. You remained silent from obedience. That difference matters more than any words ever exchanged. Heaven records posture, not volume. You may notice now that opportunities begin to open unexpectedly. Invitations. Favor. Respect that feels effortless instead of forced. This is not coincidence, it is compensation. God restores quietly at first, so your spirit adjusts before your surroundings do. He does not want restoration to overwhelm you the way betrayal once tried to. At the same time, she is facing an internal reckoning. Exposure does not immediately destroy, it confronts. And confrontation is uncomfortable. Some respond with humility. Others respond with deflection. How she responds next will determine how long this lesson stays with her. That is no longer your concern. Your concern is alignment. Stay aligned with peace. Stay aligned with truth. Stay aligned with gratitude. Gratitude keeps your heart light while justice does its work. The moment you begin to feel grateful, not smug, not relieved, but genuinely grateful, you will feel the weight lift completely. You may hear fragments of what was said now. Partial truths. Softened versions. Do not chase the full story. You do not need every detail to move forward. Closure does not come from information, it comes from acceptance. Accept that God handled what you could not. Accept that silence was obedience, not avoidance. This experience has also marked you spiritually. You now carry discernment that cannot be taught, only earned. You will recognize subtle manipulation sooner. You will trust pauses more than promises. You will no longer confuse familiarity with safety. This is growth that protects your future relationships, not punishes your past ones. And now, a gentle reminder for those walking this path with you through these messages. If you feel strengthened here, grounded here, or guided here, your quiet support matters. A super thanks is not payment, it is participation. It helps sustain messages that speak truth without fear, clarity without chaos. And for those who feel called to go deeper, membership is simply a way to stay anchored, receiving consistent encouragement, discernment, and spiritual alignment without pressure or obligation. Let it be led, not forced. Returning to the message, do not expect public apologies. Rarely do they come. Expect behavioral shifts instead. Distance. Silence. Changed dynamics. Those are confirmations. When people stop trying to control the narrative, it means the narrative no longer serves them. You are stepping into a season where your presence speaks louder than explanations ever could. People will feel something different when you enter a room, not because you are trying to prove anything, but because you no longer need approval. Freedom carries authority. God allowed this exposure because your next assignment requires credibility you could not earn any other way. Integrity tested in silence becomes influence when truth is revealed. You are being trusted with more, not because you were perfect, but because you were faithful. There will come a moment soon when you realize you no longer feel the urge to revisit this situation at all. That is when healing completes. Indifference is not coldness, it is peace. And peace is the clearest sign that God finished what He started. Stay present. Stay observant. Stay humble. What is unfolding now is preparing you for something larger than you realize. And the final movement of this story will not focus on her at all, it will focus on who God brings next, and why they recognize your worth instantly. That revelation is closer than you think. Stay with me now. This is the turning point, the moment where everything you endured quietly begins to make sense in ways you could not have imagined before. What comes after exposure is not emptiness. It is replacement. God never removes without restoring, never reveals without rebuilding, never closes a chapter without already drafting the next one. You may notice that your focus is shifting naturally. You are no longer replaying conversations. You are no longer waiting for validation. You are no longer checking to see who noticed the truth. That is not avoidance, that is release. When God lifts something off your spirit, it does not return unless invited. And you are no longer inviting it. This is where acceleration begins. What once felt slow will suddenly feel synchronized. Conversations will flow. Doors will open without resistance. You will find yourself in rooms where no explanation is required, where your presence is welcomed without suspicion, where your energy is not questioned or drained. These are not random encounters. These are divinely filtered connections. People who meet you after refinement, not before exposure. Understand this clearly. The reason God allowed the truth about what she said to come out now is because you were ready to walk away clean. Had this happened earlier, it might have hardened you. Had it happened later, it might have delayed your movement. This moment is precise. Heaven's timing always is. You are entering a season where your reputation is protected without effort. Where your work speaks before you arrive. Where your character is vouched for by consistency, not defense. People will trust you instinctively, not because they know your story, but because they recognize your spirit. And here is the part few talk about: she will not be your concern anymore. Once truth settles, God shifts your vision forward. You were never meant to watch consequences unfold. You were meant to outgrow the entire scene. That is why peace has replaced urgency. That is why curiosity about her motives has faded. That is why your heart feels lighter even without closure conversations. This is not denial. This is healing. You may still feel moments of reflection, brief flashes of memory. Let them pass without analysis. They are echoes, not signals. They hold no instruction for your future. The lesson has already been learned. God is also preparing you to be seen again. But this time, accurately. Not projected onto. Not misunderstood. Not reduced. You will be seen for who you actually are, not who someone needed you to be to justify their behavior. That kind of visibility requires spiritual covering. You have it now. Pay attention to who enters your life next. They will not ask you to prove yourself. They will not triangulate. They will not speak about you instead of to you. They will value clarity, not control. Mutual respect will feel natural, not negotiated. That is confirmation you are aligned. And yes, there will be moments when others realize too late what they lost. That realization may come quietly, without apology, without reconciliation. That is not tragedy. That is consequence meeting awareness. You are not responsible for what people do with truth once they receive it. Your responsibility is stewardship of peace. If you feel called to stay grounded in messages that strengthen rather than sensationalize, your presence here already matters. Quiet support, whether through a super thanks or becoming a member, is simply a way of saying, "This helped me stay aligned." Nothing more. Nothing forced. Just shared intention. Now, listen carefully to this final revelation. What God exposed behind your back was not meant to embarrass you, it was meant to untangle you. Untangle you from misalignment. Untangle you from distorted perception. Untangle you from carrying emotional weight that never belonged to you. Freedom required truth. And truth arrived exactly on time. You are not walking forward empty-handed. You are walking forward with clarity, authority, and discernment sharpened by experience. You will not repeat this lesson, not because you are guarded, but because you are aware. The most powerful part of this story is not that the truth came out. It is that when it did, you were already healed enough that it did not destroy you. And now, something new is approaching. Something aligned. Something that will make you look back at this moment and realize it was not an ending at all. It was the clearing of the path. Stay open. Stay steady. Stay ready. Because what comes next will confirm beyond doubt that God allowed the truth to surface not to slow you down, but to release you into the fastest season of your life.